Welcome to Glisso English. Real life stories.
Have you ever faced a week with only $20 in your wallet? Imagine standing at a crossroads. Do you spend it on a bus pass to get to work or buy milk and bread to survive at home? In today's story, we follow Sam, a regular person with a tough decision that could change the week ahead. This is not just a story to help you learn English, but also a story about life, choices, and how to handle real struggles. As you listen, pay attention to the words, phrases, and expressions used in everyday life. You'll improve your English listening, speaking, and vocabulary while learning practical lessons you can apply in your own life. Let's dive into The Last $20 and see how small choices can make a big difference.
Chapter 1. The Last Bill. Sam woke up to the sound of his alarm buzzing across the small, dim apartment. His body felt heavy, and the week ahead already seemed overwhelming. He reached for his wallet on the nightstand and felt a familiar, sinking weight. Only $20. That was all he had left until his next paycheck. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the small stack of bills. The choices seemed simple, yet impossible. A bus pass would get him to work reliably, but that would leave almost nothing for food. Milk and bread would keep him fed, but without the bus pass, he risked being late, or worse, missing work altogether. Sam rubbed his eyes and let out a slow sigh. Every dollar mattered. Each choice carried consequences that felt too big for a single person to handle alone. He paced the tiny living room, thinking about what he could do differently, wishing he had more time or more money. He glanced around the apartment. The fridge hummed quietly, almost empty. A half-empty carton of milk, a few slices of bread, and some forgotten leftovers stared back at him. It wasn't much, but it might be enough for a day or two. Then Sam remembered work. Without getting there, he wouldn't earn more money this week. But if he went without groceries, his body would struggle, and hunger would distract him all day. His stomach growled as if reminding him that time was running out. For a moment, Sam considered skipping breakfast and hoping for the best. But reality hit. He had to make a choice, and the clock was ticking. $20 in his wallet felt heavier than ever, pressing down like a weight he couldn't shake. Sam sat back down at the table, pulled out the bills, and began counting every single dollar, one by one, trying to imagine a path that would carry him through the week. The decision wasn't just about money. It was about survival, responsibility, and thinking ahead when life gave you very little. And so, with a deep breath, Sam prepared to face the first hard choice of the week. Chapter 2. The Morning Commute. Sam decided to make it to work first. He figured he could walk part of the way and maybe catch a cheaper bus later. The air was cold, and a light drizzle made the streets slippery. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of that last $20 was pressing down on him physically. Halfway to the bus stop, Sam ran into Maria, a coworker from the office. She was juggling a coffee cup and an umbrella, smiling as she noticed him. "Hey, Sam, you look exhausted already," she said, glancing at his worn shoes. "Morning. Yeah, just one of those weeks," Sam replied, forcing a weak smile. Maria tilted her head. "You need a ride? I sometimes use the rideshare app. It's cheaper if you split it." Sam hesitated. Could he spend even a little money on that? But the thought of missing work or being late made him nod. "Maybe. I'll think about it," he said. "Thanks, though." They said their goodbyes, and Sam continued walking. Even without taking her offer, the small conversation lifted his spirits a little. Sometimes, he realized, it wasn't just about money. It was about knowing that someone noticed you, someone cared. At the bus stop, he waited under the small metal roof, counting the minutes. The drizzle soaked his jacket, and his stomach growled. But for the first time since he woke up, Sam felt a tiny spark of hope. He could make it through today. He just had to keep thinking, planning, and stretching every dollar carefully. As the bus approached, he clenched his hands in his pockets, imagining the week ahead. Every step, every dollar, every choice mattered more than ever. Chapter 3. The Empty Pantry. When Sam finally arrived home after work, his feet ached and his stomach growled louder than ever. He unlocked the apartment door and stepped inside, the familiar hum of the fridge greeting him. He opened it slowly, hoping for something he might have forgotten. But the truth was clear. The fridge was mostly empty. A half-empty carton of milk, a few slices of bread, and a jar of peanut butter stared back at him like silent reminders of the week ahead. Nothing else. No fresh fruit, no eggs, not even a can of soup. Just enough to survive, but barely. Sam leaned against the counter and rubbed his face. He could feel the stress building in his chest. It wasn't just hunger, it was the weight of responsibility, the pressure of needing to make every single dollar count. He thought about tomorrow. Would he have enough for bus fare? Would he have enough to eat? Could he stretch the groceries until payday? The questions swirled in his mind, and for a moment he felt completely trapped. He opened the pantry, hoping for a miracle, but found only a few dusty cans long forgotten. Sam sighed, realizing that sometimes survival meant making hard choices every single day. It wasn't about luxuries or comfort, it was about basic needs and careful planning. Sitting at the small kitchen table, Sam began to plan every meal, every snack, every step he would take for the next few days. He made a mental note: skip unnecessary expenses, walk instead of taking the bus when possible, and ration the milk and bread carefully. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. For the first time, he understood a simple truth. Money wasn't just paper, it was freedom, options, and security. And with only $20 left, every decision mattered more than ever. Sam took a deep breath, staring out the small window at the city lights. The week was just beginning, and he would need every ounce of focus, planning, and determination to make it through. Chapter 4. The Temptation. The next day, Sam walked to the corner store. He needed a few essentials, but even with careful planning, the temptation of small treats was hard to resist. The shelves were filled with brightly colored candy, packaged snacks, and cheap instant noodles. Each one seemed to call his name. He picked up a small chocolate bar and turned it over in his hand. $2. That was 10% of the money he had left for the week. For a moment, Sam imagined the sweet taste, the brief comfort it would bring. His stomach growled again. But this wasn't hunger, this was craving, and it tested his self-control. He put the chocolate bar back on the shelf. One wrong choice, he knew, and he could ruin the careful plan he had made. Every dollar mattered, and today was no exception. Sam picked up a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, and a small pack of eggs. The total came to exactly what he could afford without risking the bus fare. Standing in line, Sam noticed a mother with a young child buying snacks and treats without hesitation. He felt a pang of envy, but also a reminder. Everyone's situation is different, and comparing yourself only makes decisions harder. When he returned home, he placed the groceries carefully on the counter. Nothing extra, nothing wasted. He had resisted temptation, but he also realized something important. Survival isn't just about money. It's about discipline, planning, and self-control. Sam sat at the table staring at the groceries. They weren't much, but they were enough. Enough to get him through the week. Enough to remind him that small sacrifices today could lead to stability tomorrow.
and as he poured a glass of milk and broke a slice of bread, he thought to himself, "This is hard, but I can do this. Every choice counts."
Chapter 5. Asking for Help. By midweek, Sam's energy was running low. Walking to work, rationing food, and carefully budgeting every dollar had started to take its toll. The cold mornings felt sharper, the small aches in his feet a constant reminder of the tight choices he had to make. At lunch, Sam sat alone on a park bench, staring at the small sandwich he had packed. He tried to focus on work, but the anxiety about money wouldn't leave him. For the first time that week, he admitted to himself that he couldn't do everything alone. With a deep breath, he pulled out his phone and called Liam, an old friend from college. The phone rang twice before Liam answered, his voice cheerful and warm. "Sam, it's been a while. How's everything?" Sam hesitated, then said, "Hey, Liam, I don't know if I should ask this, but I'm a little short this week. Could you help me out with a small loan?" There was a pause on the other side, and then Liam said, "Of course, Sam. Don't worry about it. But, maybe we should also talk about budgeting for the future so you don't end up in this situation again." Relief washed over Sam. He felt a mixture of gratitude and embarrassment, but he knew asking for help wasn't weakness. It was strategy, survival, and wisdom. After the call, Sam looked around the park and noticed people passing by, some rushing, some strolling, some sharing a laugh. For the first time that week, he felt connected. He wasn't alone in his struggles. People could and would help if he was honest about his needs. That evening, Sam carefully added the loan to his budget, planning how to pay it back without affecting the essentials. He realized something important. Sometimes asking for help is the most responsible choice you can make. As he sat down with a hot cup of tea, Sam thought, "It's not shameful to lean on someone else. The real mistake is thinking you have to do everything alone."
Chapter 6. The Decision. Saturday morning arrived and Sam sat at his kitchen table, staring at the last $20 in his wallet. The week had been long, exhausting, and full of hard choices. Now he faced the toughest one yet: how to spend the remaining money. He could buy a bus pass, which would guarantee he could get to work next week without worrying, but that would leave almost nothing for groceries. Or he could buy milk, bread, and a few essentials for the week, stretching the bus fare carefully, but taking a risk. Sam counted the money again, $1 at a time. He pictured himself walking to work, tired and hungry. He pictured his stomach growling at lunch, his energy running out mid-afternoon. He pictured being forced to skip meals just to save the bus fare. After long minutes of careful thought, Sam made a choice. He gathered the money, walked to the small grocery store, and bought milk, bread, eggs, and a few essentials. He left just enough for 2 bus rides to get him through the next few days. It wasn't ideal, but it was a balanced compromise, a plan that kept him alive, fed, and moving forward. On the walk home, Sam felt a strange mix of relief and anxiety. He had made the responsible choice, but the pressure hadn't disappeared. Life on a tight budget required constant vigilance, and one mistake could ruin the plan he had worked so hard to create. Back in his apartment, Sam placed the groceries carefully in the fridge and pantry, organizing them to last as long as possible. Every item had a purpose. Nothing was wasted. He sat at the table, taking a slow sip of water, and reflected. Sometimes life doesn't give us perfect choices, but careful thinking, planning, and small sacrifices can carry us through even the hardest weeks. For Sam, this decision marked more than just survival. It was a lesson in responsibility, patience, and making the best out of what life gave him.
Chapter 7. The Ride. Monday morning came again, and Sam adjusted the small envelope in his pocket containing the bus fare for 2 rides. Walking to the bus stop, he felt the familiar tension. Every step, every dollar, every choice mattered. As he waited under the metal shelter, an elderly man sitting nearby noticed Sam's anxious expression. "Rough week, son?" the man asked gently. Sam hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, just trying to stretch my money. It's been tough." The man smiled knowingly. "I've been there. You know, there are community programs that can help with food if you ever run low. Little things like that can make a big difference." Sam listened carefully, surprised. He hadn't thought about asking for outside help beyond friends and family. The man even jotted down the details of a nearby food pantry and community kitchen that could provide essentials if he needed them. When the bus arrived, Sam felt lighter. The ride was cramped and he stood the entire way, but he had a sense of direction now. It wasn't just about making money or counting dollars. It was about knowing where to find support, asking for help, and learning from those who had been through similar struggles. During the ride, he thought about the choices he had made: buying groceries over a full bus pass, rationing carefully, asking for help from a friend. Each decision, though difficult, had brought him closer to stability. By the time he reached the office, Sam felt a sense of cautious optimism. Life was still challenging, but he had learned an important lesson. Resources and guidance are everywhere if you look carefully and are willing to accept help. Sitting at his desk, Sam whispered to himself, "It's not just surviving on my own, it's learning how to survive wisely."
Chapter 8. Stretching Every Dollar. By Wednesday, Sam had settled into a careful routine. Every dollar he spent was deliberate, and every choice mattered more than ever. He had learned that survival wasn't about luck, it was about planning, patience, and small daily victories. He opened his wallet and counted the remaining money. 2 bus rides and a few dollars for emergencies. He smiled slightly, proud of how he had stretched each dollar so far. Sam organized his groceries with precision: milk in the fridge, bread in a sealed bag to last longer, eggs carefully stacked. Every meal was planned: breakfast, lunch, and dinner with minimal waste. He even calculated walking routes to work to save on bus fare whenever possible. At work, he focused on the tasks at hand, but his mind sometimes wandered to his careful budget. He realized that stress could be reduced by careful planning. He kept a small notebook, jotting down daily expenses, meals, and bus rides. It was a simple tool, but it gave him control over a situation that once felt impossible. During lunch, he reflected on the lessons of the week. Life wasn't easy, but he felt a small sense of pride in managing the tightest of budgets. Even the smallest victories, a loaf of bread lasting a few extra days, a bus ride saved, felt meaningful. By evening, Sam knew he could survive the week without panic or regret. The careful stretching of every dollar wasn't just about money, it was about learning discipline, foresight, and resilience. He understood that life often throws challenges our way, and how we handle them defines the difference between struggling and thriving. Sitting by the window with a hot cup of tea, Sam whispered to himself, "I may have only $20, but I have enough if I plan wisely, think carefully, and never give up." Chapter 9. Unexpected Reward. Thursday afternoon, Sam was finishing a long shift when his manager called him into the office. His stomach tightened. He hadn't expected anything, and the tension of the week made him nervous. "Sam," his manager began with a smile, "I wanted to recognize your hard work. You stayed late on the project this week, and it really made a difference. Here's a small bonus for your efforts." Sam blinked, surprised. The envelope contained just enough to cover a few extra groceries and maybe a small treat for himself. But more than the money, it brought relief and encouragement. Walking home, he clutched the envelope and reflected on the week. The careful planning, the tough decisions, the moments of hunger and doubt, they had all led him here. By being patient, disciplined, and responsible with his money, he now had a reward he hadn't expected. That evening, he treated himself to a small chocolate bar, the one he had resisted earlier in the week, and savored every bite. It was a simple pleasure, but it symbolized something bigger. Hard work, wise choices, and perseverance often lead to small victories that matter. Sam realized another truth. Life wasn't just about surviving. It was about learning from challenges and celebrating the wins, no matter how small. He made a mental note to remember this feeling, the relief, the pride, and the sense of control, even when future weeks were uncertain. As he lay in bed that night, Sam felt calmer. The week had been hard, but he had managed. He had survived, learned, and even enjoyed a small reward. And in that moment, he understood. Patience, careful planning, and making responsible choices can turn the hardest weeks into meaningful lessons.
Chapter 10. Reflecting on Choices. By Friday evening, Sam finally sat down in his small apartment, exhausted but quietly proud. The week had been full of difficult decisions, tight budgets, and moments of anxiety, but he had made it through. Every choice, every step, every careful calculation had carried him forward. He looked around the apartment. The fridge had enough milk, the bread lasted longer than expected, and the small envelope of extra money from his bonus sat neatly on the counter. Sam realized that survival wasn't just about having money, it was about making thoughtful decisions, asking for help when needed, and learning to stretch resources wisely. As he reflected on the week, memories of each challenge came to mind. Counting his last $20, resisting temptation at the store, asking Liam for help, learning about community programs, and even enjoying the small rewards of discipline and patience. Each moment had taught him something about responsibility, resilience, and the quiet power of careful planning. Sam understood now that life often forces us to make hard choices. Sometimes the options aren't perfect and the path forward is uncertain. But even in the toughest weeks, it's possible to navigate challenges with thoughtfulness, courage, and self-control. He poured a cup of tea, sat by the window, and watched the city lights flicker. The week had tested him, but he had learned to survive, to adapt, and to find hope even in small victories. And as he whispered to himself, Sam knew one simple truth. Life may not always give you enough, but if you make wise choices, plan carefully, and never give up, even the smallest amount, like $20, can carry you further than you imagined. Thank you for watching The Last $20. Sam's week shows us that even the smallest choices can make a big difference. Life is full of tough decisions, but careful planning, patience, and asking for help can guide us through. Which choice would you make if you were in Sam's situation? Comment below and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this story and want to improve your English listening, speaking, and vocabulary while learning real-life lessons, don't forget to like,
subscribe, and hit the notification bell. New stories come out every day to help you learn and grow.